Hi, and welcome back to Point Serve. What is Point Serve? Point Serve is the first podcast of Cross Point Church in Beckley, West Virginia. My name is Vondi Cook. I am the lead pastor here at Cross Point, and just allow me a moment to share with you what this podcast seeks to achieve. And the greatest thing that we are trying to do is impart some practical information and steps for followers of Christ who are in leadership positions, whether it's in a sacred or in a secular organization, regardless of your station, to be able to share God's leadership principles that we find not only in the Word of God, but also with servant leadership. And we want to help you improve your leadership ability, because we believe that as Christ followers improve their leadership ability, we have a much better opportunity to reach and change our world. Point Serve has been discussing some servant leadership characteristics. These characteristics were first mentioned by Robert Greenleaf, but we've got what he has written and shared with that. Yet I believe that Jesus Christ shared these things over 2,000 years ago. And so as we process and walk through this together, we are wanting to look at things like listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, growth of people, and today we're going to talk a little bit about building community. We hear a lot about community in our world today. We hear a lot that people are not connected the way that they would really like to be. And I believe that is an accurate statement. Yet servant leadership does not leave this particular thing out. Servant leaders believe that those that walk with them, those that some would call followers, those who would be called fellow laborers that are working with us, these particular people are valuable to us. A servant leader does not look at an individual as something that just serves them as the leader. What they look at as a servant leader is how that they as the leader can serve those around them. And a servant leader, to build community, has to include all of the things we've been talking about over the last 10 months. All of those pieces that we have looked at, from listening to empathy, etc., all of those pieces come together to help us build community. Because if you know how to listen, if you can be empathetic for people, if you can help people who are hurting begin a healing process, if you can be aware that somebody's having a bad day and you're able to spend some time with them and to be able to help them know what is necessary to get better, to conceptualize that, to show them the resources that they have and the abilities that they have in and of themselves. When you begin to do that, community is a natural byproduct of all of those things being engaged through a servant leader. And I would say in that process, the leader begins to create a culture. All of us know that culture is very important. We are in what many people call culture wars today, and saying what is right and what is not, and all of those things are going to be played out in the next few years as to how we look at our national culture. But in the place where you lead, the place where God has called you to be, what kind of culture do you look at? What kind of culture are you trying to create there? And I believe that a servant leadership culture that begins to build and begins to put things together like we have talked about with all of the other characteristics, I believe when that culture is created and it is cultivated, I believe it allows for a long-term and healthy environment. All of us know what an unhealthy environment looks like. All of us have been a part of those things at different times in our lives. Yet a servant leader creates an environment just by how they serve, how they work, how they listen, how they walk with people throughout their lives. And it's in that creating of a culture that the environment grows so that those who walk along with that servant leader understand not only the servant leader's desire to serve, but hopefully that desire for them to serve those that they also walk with and work with. You see, building community, it creates an environment of trust. It creates an environment where people can sit down and they can believe in one another. And when you believe in those that you walk with, when you believe in those that you serve, when you believe in those that are walking with you every day, and doesn't mean that you agree on everything, because you don't have to. A culture of trust says, I have the ability and the freedom at that moment to say, I disagree. And all of us do that. People that we love the very most at times we can disagree with, yet a culture of trust says, I can disagree, but it's still all right. It's still all right because the love and the connection and the listening and all of the other servant leadership characteristics that walk along with building community like this, it says, I can walk my way with these people, even though we may not see eye to eye on all of these things. I can then understand how a commitment to focus and a commitment to mission and a commitment to what we are really all about as a group of people. Because it's in that commitment, it's in that move, it's in that place that we look at building community and trust that we say it's okay to be the people that we were created to be. To look down deep inside and be able to appreciate one another in our strengths, in our weaknesses, even in our differences. Because if we're only surrounded by people who are exactly like us, we never have the opportunity to expand and grow. But I also know that if we do not build a community culture of trust, we will never get to the place that we open ourselves up like that. We will never build into what we do and where we are a consistency that says, let's talk this out. I love the way the Apostle Paul put it. He said, come, let's reason together. And as a servant leader, when I'm looking at figuring out how I can listen better, how I can show empathy, how I can help people to heal, how I can help people in their awareness of what's going on and maybe something that they're doing that if they did it just a little differently would make all the difference in the world. Dale Carnegie, in that old book that he wrote, How to Win Friends and Influence People, talked about appreciation. And he talked about what that does in the lives of people and how valuable and how important that is. Now, he separates it from flattery because he says flattery is insincere, but appreciation is sincere. And creating a culture and a community of trust and building that community is essential so that when we do appreciate one another, we know that it comes from the heart. We know that it comes from a place of understanding. We know that it comes from a place where each and every one of us are saying, I want the very best for you. And when you have the very best for you, that then trickles across and ripples across that particular organization where you find yourself. And those ripples will continue to spread and they continue to move. And what happens is a community, a culture, a place where people thrive. We need a place to thrive, don't we? We want that for our kids. We want that for the next generation. And we also need that for ourselves. So today as you lead, today as you are walking through your culture, today as you are moving and processing through the day that you have, what kind of culture are you building? Is it one of trust? Is it one of mutual respect? Jesus said that if you have a problem with your brother, go talk to them. If there's somebody you need to talk to today, go talk to them. But do it in a way that they can hear what you have to say. As a leader, so many times how we say something is more important than what we have to say in creating that culture and that community of trust. Today, that's what we've looked at. That's what we've looked at. Next month, we're going to be tying some other pieces together. But I want to thank you today for coming and spending this time with us. And I hope that this has helped you. And if it has, please press the like button. Please let us know that you were able to listen and something that was shared today helped you. Share this podcast with a friend. Help us get it out there so that it continues to grow and we can help more people in the process, because that's what we want to do. We want to help more people become servant leaders in our culture. And Point Serve today is produced by Mike Smith in coordination with Crosspoint Church here in Beckley, West Virginia. And again, we thank you for coming and spending that time with us. If you'd like to share something with us that you think can make the podcast a little better, please write us at pointserve@beckleycrosspoint.org. That's pointserve@beckleycrosspoint.org. Let us know that you're here, and you can also check out all the other ministries and things that Crosspoint Church in Beckley has at beckleycrosspoint.org. Thanks again for coming, spending this time with us. This is Point Serve from Beckley, West Virginia.